So last week I covered Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the debut sales in Japan and how things weren't looking quite that good, especially when you compare them to Final Fantasy VII Remake on the PlayStation 4 and that launched back in 2020, and Final Fantasy XVI, which launched on the PlayStation 5 back in 2023. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's debut sales last week were well underneath both of those games, and the games, when it comes to Final Fantasy, have been declining for quite some time. But now we have a little bit of a follow-up here when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in Japan and the sales, and once again, things aren't looking too good, and I'm pretty sure Sony didn't sign this massive deal for a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trilogy if they felt that this wasn't going to be a boon in Japan and of course worldwide. So we're going to get into that, plus a bunch of other awesome RPG topics. But before we get into it, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. And let's go ahead and jump into it because we have the Famitsu sales for March 4th, 2024 through March 10th, 2024. And there's some good news here too. It's not just all bad with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when it comes to Japanese game sales. Unicorn Overlord debuts at a very good number that I absolutely want to get into. But first things first, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and the second week sales. Now, what we saw is a massive 90+% drop from the previous week to this week at this point. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sold only 24,482 units. That is absolutely down from the 260,000 units plus that it sold. And usually in Japan, you'll see a drop. You'll see a 50% drop or 60% drop or even 70% drop. But this is a staggering 90% drop week on week, and absolutely something that Square Enix and Sony and probably all of us did not expect to happen here. I don't think anybody felt that Square Enix with this game, FF7 Rebirth, the review scores that it was getting, everybody's talking about how great the game is. I don't think people expected the drop to be this severe, but we're seeing it at this point. And I think even more concerning for Sony, because this was probably part of their strategy in terms of what they wanted to do for Japan. And one of the big reasons why they felt that they didn't need Japan studios, because they had a bunch of other Asian and Japanese developers that were making games for them and could pick up the slack in Japan as they focus more towards the Western market. But that's not the case here. We're looking at the console sales for the past week in Japan, and once again, the PS5 is only at 39,064 units. Now, not a terrible number overall, but the Nintendo Switch, a system that's not getting massive, big third-party Japanese titles right now from the publishers and developers out there, that sold 65,898. And once again, it's not a race. It's not like it's this all-out competition. But I think when they signed this deal, like I stated, when Sony and Square Enix agreed to this, this was probably one of their big things to help invigorate the sales in Japan when it comes to PlayStation hardware. I think they felt that it would boost hardware up to good levels, because what we saw with the previous gen, with Final Fantasy 15 and all previous Final Fantasies before that, you would see a big bump in the hardware sales, upwards of 100,000 units plus when it comes to when a Final Fantasy game launches, even if it was a spin-off type of category. But we're not seeing that here with Final Fantasy 16, and we're absolutely not seeing that with Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And I also want to make sure that I put in here that it is physical only, but the digital sales when it comes to the ratio in Japan is probably around 20 to 30% of the physical sales. So that is not a significant bump up in sales overall. It's still pretty much underperforming compared to all of the previous Final Fantasy games by a very large margin, even if you factor in the digital sales. So absolutely not good here. But going back to what Square Enix and what Sony were probably thinking, I thought they would probably do more PS5s at this point, and we're just not seeing that. So it's very unfortunate, and things aren't looking too good for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's still one more game in the FF7 Rebirth trilogy, and I think that Square Enix probably needs to rethink what they want to do with Final Fantasy going forward in the future, because I don't think this was quite on their I would say, spreadsheet, right? When they were thinking about how well it could do with FF16 and with FF7 Rebirth and the exclusivity and all of that, yes, they got a nice bag for it, and that's awesome. I'm happy for the developers. I'm happy for their job security, all of that good stuff. But I don't think that this is necessarily helping the franchise overall when it comes to the console level things, because many other games have passed them up in popularity at this point on the console level Final Fantasy scale. Now, thankfully, we still have Final Fantasy 14, which is doing absolutely incredible and of course doing well, and people love the game and it's all good there, and it's just launched on Xbox, so that's awesome on that front. But the console side of things is looking a bit grim, so we'll see what Square Enix decides to do, and of course how long it takes to get to this next Final Fantasy game when it comes to Final Fantasy 17 and when it comes to the last piece of the trilogy with Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Now let's jump into the next thing here with Unicorn Overlord, and I am incredibly happy to see what's going on here, because this is a smaller AA type of game. Not a very expensive game for Vanillaware to make an Atlas, but absolutely when you look at it from an overall scope and scale, it's not as big when it comes to what they need to do sales wise. So seeing that Unicorn Overlord sold over 74,000 units is absolutely a good thing, not including digital. So far, the breakdown is we've got 40,991 sales on the Nintendo Switch, with 24,398 sales on the PlayStation 5 and 8,797 sales on the PlayStation 4 for the grand total of 74,186 copies. So that is very good. Vanillaware has put out apologies that there are sellouts all across Japan. So you absolutely don't want to see sellouts when it comes down to it. You want to have enough stock so people can actually buy the game, but that could potentially convert into people buying the game digitally, so it could go in your favor. But you always want to make sure that you have stock so people can buy the game when they go into the store. But I think that this game overperformed compared to what they thought it would do, because Vanillaware games don't launch super crazy, and this is a tactics game, so you're not expecting this game to do 70,000 units plus. I was thinking probably around maybe 50,000 or so at the high end, but 74,000 is absolutely great. But this is a word of mouth game. This is the type of game where people pick it up and say, oh my gosh, this game is awesome. And then they tell their friend, and their friend tells their friend, or it goes online and people post clips and the reviews come out. And over time, this is the type of game that'll get to 1 million after a year or so, or whatever the case is. Just like a lot of Vanillaware's older games. 13 Sentinels was the same way. A lot of word of mouth. They released it on the Nintendo Switch, and then it hit 1 million units in sales. So I think that this game, Unicorn Overlord, is going to do the exact same thing, but I think it's going to do it way quicker than what we saw with 13 Sentinels, because 13 Sentinels was a PS4 exclusive at launch, and Unicorn Overlord is multiplat. It's on everything but PC, and it's not coming to PC, which is very unfortunate, because I think this game would do fantastic on PC considering the type of game that it is. I feel that people that really love the tactics games on PC could get into this, so that's unfortunate. But it is on Nintendo Switch, it is on PS4, PS5, it's on Xbox, so it's on pretty much everything. And I think that overall, people are really going to enjoy this game. And in the long run, when you start seeing some discounts and some sales and all that, it's going to pick up and stay consistent throughout. These special editions are selling out as well. Hard to find the Nintendo Switch version, PS5 version still available too. So this is definitely a good thing. Perfect game for Nintendo Switch people playing on that beautiful OLED, or if you want to play it on PS5 and use your PS Portal. So I think that it fits a lot of people's, I would say, hunger for that type of awesome tactics and strategy RPG gameplay kind of all mixed into one with the Vanillaware polish and touch. We even have the Final Fantasy Tactics director saying, hey, go pay attention to Unicorn Overlord. Go play that game. I know you guys all want Final Fantasy Tactics, and I get that, but this game is awesome. These games are very niche, and you want to support these type of games. There's one right in front of you to go out there and play. Plus, it also shows other developers that if Unicorn Overlord does well, then hey, there is more of a market for this type of game. Imagine if this game, Unicorn Overlord, sells more than 1 million units before the end of the year. You're going to have other developers saying, okay, we can put a AA budget into our own tactics game. We can fund some of our older ones, maybe bring those back, remaster them, and there is a market for them if they're good. So definitely a good thing overall for Unicorn Overlord. And we're seeing now at this point, the Nintendo Switch is actually up year on year. So when it comes to total sales in Japan for the year 2023 compared to 2024, about 3 months in, the Nintendo Switch is up from the previous year, which is just crazy to think about that, considering it's not necessarily getting the biggest games or anything. And last year, there was definitely some pretty huge games that people are looking forward to, but I think that might slow down because Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin, and there's some other big games that came out that absolutely boosted sales really high. So that'll probably go back down, but still interesting to note that as well. So shout outs to the Unicorn Overlord. Game is awesome. Go out there, pick it up, PS5, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. But let's talk about some other cool AA type of RPGs that are coming out very soon here that you guys should be excited for. We got new footage and a Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes pre-launch trailer featuring never before seen companions. So we've got some new stuff there. Eiyuden Chronicles, it's the spiritual successor to the Suikoden franchise, so that's really exciting. So publisher 505 Games and developer Rabbit and Bear Studios have released a 4-minute pre-launch trailer for strategy RPG Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes featuring previously unseen companions. Gamatsu does right. So for those who don't know about Eiyuden Chronicles, it features a finely crafted 6-character battle system that has meticulously crafted 2D sprites and 3D backgrounds that creates such a beautiful type of picture and visuals and scenery. You've got over 100 playable characters and engaging gameplay designed to bring players a modern take on a classic JRPGs. Now, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes has been brought to life by the legendary Yoshitaka Murayama from Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 2, and Junko Kawano from Suikoden 1 and Suikoden 4. Now, Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes is designed to bring players a modern take on the classic JRPG experience. Get ready to lead over 100 playable characters through a war-torn world only you can save. Now, there is also details on the story and all that. You guys are checking out this pre-launch trailer, and yeah, it's very exciting. The game is coming out for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam, Epic Game Store, and GOG on April 23rd. It'll also be available on Xbox Game Pass. So I think that pretty much everyone has the opportunity at this point to play the game. When it's last gen, current gen, PC, all the different launchers, it's all there for people to play and enjoy. And I expect Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes to be a cult classic hit when it comes to people who love the Suikoden franchise, people who love those classic PS1 style RPGs. And it's looking really good. It's looking super good. I'm excited to play the game myself. And I think that this has a really big possibility of selling 2-3 million units plus when it's all said and done. It is going to be interesting to see how this does. And then also when Suikoden 1 and 2, the HD remasters come out, how that does, and see what type of market there is for this style of game. Because it's not often that you see developers make this style of game in the modern day, because obviously programming all the different characters and all that, that's a lot of money and time. For a genre or type of RPG that's not as popular as it used to be. So awesome stuff there. But we do have one more topic to go over, and that is Sea of Stars, another incredible Japanese RPG influenced style game, Chrono Trigger inspired. Sea of Stars, we've got 5 million players that the company has announced. So this is Xbox Game Pass, this is the PSN, PS Plus downloads, this is the sales on the PC and the Nintendo Switch. We know that the game has sold 250,000 units plus. So if you combine all the people playing it there, plus the extra sales since when they announced that, yeah, we're looking at pretty good numbers here overall. And I wish that they would actually tell us the separation between people just playing and trying it out on PS Plus and on the Xbox Game Pass compared to the sales on Nintendo Switch and PC. But of course, in the modern day, people always talk about players and influence and all of that. So I get it. But still, 5 million people actually seeing your game and playing your game, that's definitely a good thing. In addition to that awesome news, we have some new information on a new game mode that's very exciting for all of my Secret of Mana fans out there, because Sea of Stars is getting a 3-player local co-op mode, and you can engage in traversal and combat with new co-op timed hits. So Sabotage Studio released a 3-player local cooperative mode for Sea of Stars dubbed Single Player Plus, the studio announced. The release date was not announced for this. Quote, the mode allows for 3 players to journey together in Sea of Stars, Sabotage Studio said, staying true to the game's core turn-based roots. Each player will engage in traversal and combat with a new co-op timed hits mechanic as they embark with friends on Sea of Stars' grand adventure. Additionally, the developer announced that Sea of Stars has been played by over 5 million people since launch. Sea of Stars is available on pretty much everything at this point overall. And yeah, it's an awesome game. It's very fun to play. It has a lot of nods to old school RPGs, Breath of Fire, Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, lots of different places. Really, they kind of draw inspiration from. But what I love about this, you can tell that the passion that was put into the story, into the gameplay, into the graphics, into the music. Yasunori Mitsuda was on the case there. So they really meticulously crafted everything in this game to create a passionate 16-bit inspired Super Nintendo type of RPG for people to play. And I love it, man. It is a really, really good game. And this co-op mode reminds me of Secret of Mana because that was the first time I remember playing Secret of Mana back in the early 90s. That was the first time that I ever played a co-op RPG like that on console. We had the multi-tap. It was 3 people playing. It was awesome. So I think that if you have someone to play with right there, friends or family, I think this is going to be a blast to go through. So that's going to wrap it up for this video here, guys. What did you think about the Final Fantasy talk, Unicorn Overlord, Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, and Sea of Stars new features coming through? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.